Okay, so let's take a look at this first batch that you sent me. And so this is from Trig Equations 2. So I believe you said you did the quadratic formula here, which looks correct to me. So you want to start by setting it equal to 0. So you would add cosine of x squared to both sides to get started. And so let's see, we'd end up with cosine of x squared minus 3 times cosine of x, and then minus 1 equals 0. And then what we want to do next is list our a, b, and c, and then we'll go ahead and plug it into our quadratic formula. So here we go. And let's see. So we're going to have, basically what happens is it's going to be the cosine of x equals, and then we put our quadratic formula here. So negative 3 plus or minus the square root of negative 3 squared minus 4 times a times my c value, all divided by 2 times my a value. And so we're going to want to simplify this, and then I'll have to put it in my calculator. And then also what might be throwing you off is kind of picturing where this is on the unit circle, because you have to be careful about that. So let's clean this up. So let's see, we're going to have cosine of x equals 3 plus or minus the square root of 9. That'll become a plus 4. And then all over 2. So we end up with 3 plus or minus the square root of 13 all over 2. So I have to look at it both ways, one with plus, one with minus, and take the cosine inverse of that. And so what's going to help, I'm going to go ahead and, I think in the previous videos I've sent you, I just plugged it directly in, but I think maybe it might be helpful to actually get a decimal for this, just so we can kind of have a better feel of where this is on the unit circle. And so here we go. So I'm going to do 3, let's see, 3 plus the square root of 13, and then I gotta get that before I divide by 2. So I gotta be careful. So get the numerator, then divide by 2. So my first one's around like 3.3 or so, right? Um, and so I'm going to go ahead and write that down. So 3.3 is going to be one of them. And then we'll get the other one in just a second. But I'm going to go ahead and take the cosine inverse of that, because hopefully you've got a calculator similar to this. And if not, you might want to do a couple extra decimal places. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the cosine inverse. And instead of having to type that number in, I can press second and the negative key down here. And it will put my previous answer there. So now my previous answer is there, all those decimal places. So I'll press enter. Oh yeah, let me make sure I'm on radians. Okay, I'm on radians. So also you want to be careful about that. Make sure you're on radians. And so, oops, something happened. Oh, you know what? So that is out of my range, actually. I should have known that. So your cosine going around your unit circle is never going to be more than 1, right? It's never going to be more than 1. So that one, I can just ignore that one, actually. So let's go back here. Now let's try the other one. We'll do the minus right here. So just to review, your cosine has to be between negative and positive 1. You can't be less than negative 1 or greater than positive 1. So let's go back here. So let's see, 3 minus the square root of 13. Close it. Get that. And then I got to divide by 2. Divide by 2. And so I get like negative point, I'm going to go 3 decimal places. So negative 3.03. So negative, I'm sorry, 0.303. Okay, sorry about that. So negative 0.303. So like I said, that one's not within my domain of my x value right there, so that's not going to work. So, okay, so the reason I wanted to get this value here, though, is because it does kind of help me out here, because I know that cosine is going to be 0 I'm sorry, cosine is 1 at 0 right here. So cosine's kind of synonymous with your x value, right? So when I'm right here, x is about, or it is 1, right? And then up here, x would be 0. My x value would be 0. And then over here would be negative 1 and back to 0, right? So negative uh, zero point 0.3 or so would probably be about somewhere about like right here. So that angle would line up with, let me make that a little bit better. See, that angle, see, would line up about right here, right? So you'd have it right here, and then you'd also have it down here. So those are going to be the two that I'm going to be looking for. So I'm going to put it in my calculator and see what I get. So let's go ahead and do that. So once again, I'm going to do cosine inverse, and then I can take my answer from my previous step and put that in there. And so I'm getting, we can round that to 1 point, let's just round it to 1.88. And so that's what this is going to be right here. That's what that is. It's going to be 1.88 radians, right? And then if I were to go backwards, that would be negative 1.88 radians. Now, I don't want negative radians, though, because the original problem wants my solution to be between 0 and 2 pi right here. And so what I'm going to do instead is this one from here to here is going to be 2 pi, but 2 pi would be going all the way around, right? And so I want to subtract off this extra piece right here. So then I'm going to subtract off 1.88, and that should give me the rotation to this second angle right here. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in my calculator. So let's see, 2 pi minus 1.88. So I get 4.40. So about 4.40 radians. And so that is the first one. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next one. And okay, so on this next one it says determine which of the following identity replacements is the best and accurate choice in solving this equation. So if we were trying to solve this, so we're not actually going to solve it, but we're just trying to figure out how could I manipulate this to help me solve it. And so it looks like you chose the last choice, and you were close. Um, if you were to look back at the identity for cosine of x squared, it should actually be 1 minus sine of x squared. You have the 2 right there, so it's a simple little thing right there. But if you, that's our Pythagorean identity right here. So that would be cosine of x squared plus sine of x squared equals 1, right? And so if you were to isolate the cosine, if you were to subtract both sides by sine of x squared, that'd be equivalent to that cosine of x squared right there. And so that's what you want to do to get to be dealing with all the same uh, trig functions right there. You want to deal with sine. So hopefully that clears that up for you. And then let's look at the last one. So right here it says solve for x. And so this is actually kind of similar to what we were just doing on the previous slide, actually. So that'll be convenient. So we do want to solve this. And so what we are going to do first, though, is replace this with that 1 minus cosine of x squared. So we're going to replace that. So it's going to be 2 times 1 minus cosine of x squared. And we have equals 2 minus cosine of x. And so we'll go ahead and distribute the 2 right there. And then we'll have to clean this up a little bit. So let's see, 2 minus 2 times cosine of x squared equals 2 minus cosine of x. And then we want to clean this up. We want to put it in general form. And so what I notice first off that will make my life easier is I have a 2 on both sides. I'm going to cancel those 2's out. So those cancel out. So now I'm left with negative 2 times cosine of x squared is equal to negative cosine of x. And so I need to set one side equal to 0. Doesn't really matter which side I want to make 0. Um, I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add, just because I like to keep my term with the highest power positive. You could have done it the other way. You could have moved the cosine over to the left side if you really wanted to. So I'm going to cancel that out, and I'm going to bring this up here so we can kind of keep it all on one slide. So let's see, this is going to be 2 cosine of x squared minus cosine of x. Now over here, I would have had 0 on the left, but I can just move it over to the other side. It makes no difference. You can put your equals 0 here, or I could have put it over here. It doesn't make a difference. And so then now we want to factor this. So this is factorable. We can factor out a cosine. So I'm going to factor out cosine of x, and then times, and I'm going to be left with 2 times cosine of x minus 1 equals 0. And then hopefully at this point this should look pretty familiar. What you want to do, and I'll let you finish this one, what you want to do is take this, set that equal to 0, take this and set that equal to 0 and see what you can get there. And so you should get 2 solutions for this one right here. You should get 2 for this one and 2 for this one. So altogether, you should get 4 solutions that work. So go ahead and try that, and if you're still having any trouble, just let me know. I can try to give you a couple more hints on this one. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and stop here, and then I'm going to send you another video for your other questions.